There is still no cure for AIDS. Those who have the disease will die either as the direct or indirect consequence of it. But at least in this country, there are antiretroviral drugs available to those who are HIV positive. And those drugs have been successful in at least delaying the onset of full-blown AIDS. In some cases, the onset has been delayed by years. Again, it's not a cure, but it's a huge step in the right direction. Those drug cocktails, though, are complicated and enormously expensive. They're complicated by the number of pills which have to be taken under a precise regimen, the same combination, at the same time. And their cost, $12,000 to $20,000 a year per patient, are simply beyond the means of most individuals. Whatever hope they provide for people living with AIDS in the United States, however, is not even available in Zimbabwe. There, where 1 out of every 4 adults is either HIV positive or has the AIDS virus, there the disease is an automatic death sentence. Nightline producer Jay LaMonica and correspondent Dave Marish went to Zimbabwe to cover this story because sub-Saharan Africa has more cases of HIV and AIDS than any other region of the world. And in that region, things are as bad or worse in Zimbabwe than anywhere else. At the end of this program, I'll be talking with South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who has literally committed the last years of his life to dealing with this problem. But first, the concluding report from Dave Marish.
The fastest growing business in the township of Mbare, perhaps in all of Zimbabwe, is the making and selling of coffins. Plain coffins and fancier ones. Big coffins and often smaller ones. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Of all the countries in post-colonial Africa, Zimbabwe seemed primed for success. Harare, the capital city, has one of Africa's prettiest and best-built business districts, with a skyline spiked with modern high-rises tall as stacks of recently invested dollars. The countryside is crisscrossed by one of the continent's best road networks. Farmland is lush and productive. And there is an industrial infrastructure that could be earning money and growing jobs. Zimbabwe has suffered for years from the one-party big man autocracy dominated by President Robert Mugabe. Now his government is faced with a crisis of historic proportions. Between 1/4 and 1/3 of its crucial adult population aged 15 to 49 is infected with HIV. By the end of the decade, economic activity could drop by 20% as a result of the AIDS epidemic. Life expectancy, which would have been 66 years, will drop to 41 in less than 5 years from now. In Zimbabwe, expensive drug therapy, widely used in the West to treat AIDS, is essentially unavailable. HIV infection almost invariably means death from AIDS. An estimated 1,700 die on average every week.
The amount of people having AIDS, I was quite aware because they came to the clinic.
Sister Irene Rezemba ran a medical clinic in the Mbare township for 8 years until 1997.
During those days, the city of Harare was able to provide gloves, disposable gloves and rubber gloves. These days, they are not able to. Everything, there's a shortage of a lot of things.
Now she's a visiting nurse for the Mashambanzo AIDS Outreach Program. Teamed with a counselor, she visits terminally ill patients in their homes in the slums of Mbare.
Alvas has already been tested and he's HIV positive and is quite free about it to talk to people about. So a few weeks ago, we came to see Malvas, and he was coughing. He went for X-ray, and he has been diagnosed as having tuberculosis.
As she makes her afternoon round, Sister Irene braces herself for the endemic poverty, the living conditions and family situations that are like a second plague in the wake of the AIDS epidemic.
I think these home visits are an eye-opener for me, and they've made me feel grateful for what I have.
Next stop, Domingo Torre. He too has tuberculosis on top of AIDS.
It must be connected to HIV because it's not getting better. It's a pity for that child, you know, because the parents also drink a lot and they don't really look after that child well.
Domingo's sister and brother have already died of AIDS. He looks 12, but he's actually 18. Sister Irene replenishes his supply of antibiotics and gives him a quick checkup. Sister Irene's plan is to get Domingo out of this house, away from his drunken father and overwhelmed mother, and into the Mashimbanzu hospice. He's been there before.
We asked him why he wants to go there. He liked it. He had other people to talk to. And at his home, he has nobody to talk to. He's just left alone in the home.